All right, I'm gonna make a commentary on Noam Chomsky's latest interview, and I want to thank Kurt, Theory of Everything, for doing a great job with the questions for Professor Noam Chomsky. And Kurt is a mathematical physicist out of Canada. And he's been reading my comments, so I appreciate that. And Professor Chomsky repeated some comments that I had discussed before, but he's saying that something I immediately disagreed with him about, which is that he's saying you can only, if you, here's a quote, if you, just as we can't become conscious of how our digestive system works, if you want to study how it works, and it is a major nervous system, you have to study it from a third person point of view from the outside. And the same is true of our mental life. Basically, that's left brain dominance is what he's talking about. Whereas I referred to this study of quantum biology by the research group of Professor Jack Tuzinski of Canada, that they're talking about light and biophotons. And so we can, when we're meditating in samadhi, we're having visions based on a coherent biophoton state that then is working with the non-local, non-commutative proto-consciousness directly. And it's then the pineal gland or the pineal gland then transduces the non-local, non-commutative information through based on the frequency of the light, and then it's experienced internally, so that there is a holographic internal awareness that through the light. And I'm trying not to cover my microphone because the last recording I made, the microphone didn't come out, and I don't know, I didn't look where the microphone is on this thing. So he's saying, our inner speech is the same as our outer speech, and that's true in the sense that, like people will often start talking to themselves externally as their internal thoughts, if they're alone or if they're trying to clarify what they're doing. I'll do that sometimes. And but then he points out, if you all the time we're having these bits and pieces that are of this instantaneous thinking that's actually subconscious. And in the other source I have, I quote him on this, where he actually says it's at the microsecond level, and that is directly the ultrasound frequency. See, he says right here, you can make decisions very quickly, microseconds, complex decisions about a variety of things. And he repeats exactly the same example of what he says in this latest talk, So I'm not gonna repeat it again, but the fascinating thing is that is the proto consciousness that Roger Penrose is talking to, and Noam Chomsky, he's worked with Roger Penrose, and through Stuart Hameroff at the University of Arizona, where Chomsky's now at. So Chomsky took part in the consciousness conferences And so, I emailed Professor Chomsky about this, and he just said that, he would like to investigate non-commutativity, but he just doesn't have time. And he also said that he considers music to be a completely probable explanation of the origin of a language. Now, and to give more details about this, in his other talk that I quoted, he's saying we struggle to articulate our internal thoughts. Now that's definitely true, but the whole idea is like, well, can you have a concept of something even if you can't put it into words? And that was the topic of a sermon that my minister gave when I was in high school, and I thought that's an intriguing concept in itself. That I agreed with him. It's like, yeah, you can. Like, for example, I was trying to convey this concept of non-commutativity, but I just didn't know the term for it in science. And so here he says, what's conscious can't be disentangled from what's unconscious. But the whole point is that in the non-Western cultures, there's like in the Indian Vedic philosophy, there's this fourth level of consciousness called Turiya, and it's beyond the unconscious, deep, dreamless state. So it's this whole idea that consciousness, it's the same thing as what Penrose calls proto-consciousness. And so you can't disentangle it in terms of an external speech that's based on vision. In other words, our left brain dominance for talking, for human language, is directly tied to our right hand dominance for tool use as an external meaning system. And so in this other talk I quoted on Chomsky, he's talking about that when children learn to speak, they are paying attention to something they can never hear. So they're listening to it. And this is the non-commutative logic. And then I'm going to the radical anthropology group of Chris Knight, who wrote a book critiquing Chomsky. They're saying the same thing, that music, that there is a melodic recursion that's variations on a theme from music theory. And this is exactly what I had explained with Chomsky, with the noun, verb, and so I'll talk about that later. Thanks.